We back. We back. Had to tap in with my guy offline, see if we get him in there. Hit the button. Hit that button for me. You know, Facebook be tweaking sometimes, especially when you have a laptop. I don't know why. Enter it, and then I can add my guy. Dan, what's going on? Sharon, how you doing today? Okay, Dennis, what's going on? How's my levels? Let me see. All right, click it. I'm just waiting for my guy to enter it. If not, then we'll probably have to just have him go on his phone and do it. And just set it up on. I'm coaching my guy through it. We coaching him through it. We're gonna get it one way or the other. Pause. How we doing tonight? Where we tuning in from? Where we tuning in from? Dennis, can you hear me? Sharon, can you hear me? I'm doing well. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, Larry Oaks can hear me. Okay. Okay, Matt can hear me. Into the chat, Matt. I'm trying to invite you. Tap something in the chat. Comment in the chat. Let's see if that'll work. Okay. We're just trying to get my guy on camera. That's it. We're just trying to get him on camera. He's not used to the Facebook Live, so we teaching him. So just be patient. Just be patient. I promise it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show. He got some good stories. He was big time. Okay. How we feeling today? NFL started today? Well, it officially started Thursday. We got the first weekend going on. Who are we fans of? I know there's some Jets and Giants fans in here. 0-1. 0-1. I know my dad's a Steelers fan, so I know he hype off of that. Dennis, who you root for? Oh, you're a Jets guy, that's right. It's a tough loss. Tough loss. They look good. Matt, type something in the chat. Giants. Okay, we got Matt Brust. I see him. Okay, I see him. See if I can get him on camera now. There we go. I'm adding you right now. Matt, hit that request button. It should turn red. It should turn red. Yeah. Hey, are the Jets making the playoffs this year? Are the Jets making the playoffs this year? Giants and Raiders. Hold on, you got two teams? The Jets look good today, man. I can't front. Hey, Matt, hit that button. I just I added you, so hit that red button. We're getting close. We're getting close. We walking my man Matt Brust through this thing. When he says that, I say yes every year. God bless the Jet fans, man. I seen somebody said that he's a Raiders fan. I'm gonna invite you. Dennis said, yeah. I lost you. Come on, Matt. We right there, dude. And on. We almost there. Just hang with me. Just hang with me, man. We got it. We got an old school guy. Got an old school guy. We teaching him. We teaching him. He gonna know after this. Okay. Okay. All right, Matt. Send you the request. Add it. Okay. Okay. There we
Okay,
go.
God.
Yes, sir. There we go.
Hang on.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm giving you an anxiety attack. I'm giving myself
You
anxiety
give it
attack.
yourself one because I'm cool. I know how it goes. I know how that that this I know from firsthand experience. My very first show with Kyle Ivy Jones from Hempstead, it happened to me.
I was watching you and I was enjoying you. You have such a great presence and the way you kind of drag on a little bit of monologue. So the last guest you had on, I'm waiting for him to get on. He's not here. He's not there. And I'm like saying to myself, I'm not going to fall down on Tristan. There's no way I'm falling down. And here I am pressing every button. And
So I just taught you a new skill, how to do a Facebook Live.
thank you very much. I
You're very welcome.
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and have a conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for asking. Thanks ever so much for asking me.
You're very welcome. So, um, listen, everybody's excited. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the show, then I'm going to throw it to you, and I'm going to have you introduce your first and last name, your high school, and then your graduation year. And then we're going to get into this nice conversation. Cool?
Sounds great.
All
Sounds
right.
great.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Tap In with Tristan. We have a Facebook Live edition, Long Island Basketball History edition. And this gentleman right here, his name rings bells. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Tristan. I'm Matt Brust. I went to Babylon High School. I graduated, I really don't want to say, but I did graduate in 1984. Uh, Played basketball there, played just about everything there.
Play just about everything, and we're going to get into it, man. So really the goal of this, Matt, is to celebrate you and then also just kind of get your backstory. Your name rings out, man. You did a lot of great things along your career, and we just want to say thank you for being a pillar and being an ambassador for Long Island basketball. So this is going to be great.
I'm grateful. Again, I'm grateful to be here.
I think it's appropriate to start with like the elementary years. When did you start getting involved with sports?
Well, we talked a little bit before this interview. My brothers and my sister before me, I'm the youngest of five, and my
Okay.
brothers, they were all involved in sports. My oldest brother was a baseball guy and played at St. John the Baptist, graduated in 72, maybe, if I got it right. My sister went to Babylon High School, graduated in 74. My brother Chris graduated in 78, and I came along, and so yeah, I basically followed them. So at 5 years old, if you would have seen the way I shot a basketball, you would say this guy is never playing basketball. My dad decided to put up a hoop in the backyard, and God love him. The hoop was about 11 and a half foot high. So
Okay.
you could never dunk on it. So I could never, I never thought I could jump. But anyway, I would shoot, and it was in the form of a baseball throw. So, it took some work and some development, but I did formulate a shot. Although Lou Carnesecca affectionately would say to me, sometimes you just can't throw it in the ocean.
I mean, and it was almost literal like what you was doing on a 12-foot basket in the backyard.
Yeah,
You was like,
yeah, I was.
I saw like I got reps in this throwing it in the ocean. So
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
So you had a front row seat to all of this with your brother and your sister and everything like that. So y'all really was very much a sports family. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. My first real introduction was my brother Jerry playing baseball,
Okay.
and he's 13 years older than me. So when he was competing, I was probably five,
Right.
and my first as a very young guy, seeing him play at St. John the Baptist. He played basketball. I later saw him pitch at the University of Miami. But what really got me going in athletics was watching the great 75, 76, 77 Babylon varsity basketball team.
Ah,
My brother playing on that and watching, the incredible Glenn Vickers and Brian Vickers. I could name every guy, first name, middle name, last name, and what they did has been unmatched to this day, and I don't think it ever will be because obviously with the class system and how school size is all factored in. And when they first did which I'm sure they first did the Long Island Championship. It was just a bracket,
man.
Nassau, Suffolk. Yeah, it didn't matter what school size it was,
Right.
and so they did it. Not only did they win it, they did it back to back.
Special.
So we had some incredible battles. Amityville.
Yeah.
The first year they won it, they lost to Amityville.
Yeah.
Or it might have been the second year. I'm not sure, but they went into a. I remember as a kid going to the triple overtime game
Yes.
against
My
Amityville.
dad participated in that game.
Don't say that. Oh God,
Yes, he did.
it
Yes,
was
he
one of
did.
the most amazing games I ever saw, and I don't remember a lot of the overtimes because Babylon was losing. I mean, they had it up against the wall, so I would walk outside, and as a kid, I would pace up and down,
Wait a minute. You was
and
pacing that. You had anxiety
I,
at the 5 year
I
old?
was I was I
You
was pacing. I was pacing up and down, and then all of a sudden, Stanley Davis would hit a bomb, and there was no 3-pointer in those days, but I mean, just the back and forth was incredible. That was one of the greatest high school games I ever saw.
so you grew up
And
in
just
you grew up in this. Now Babylon is on the map for Long Island sports. You got your brother
Mhm.
and your other brother
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
participating and your sister. So
yeah.
so you guys was well known in the neighborhood for doing your thing. Is that fair to say?
And yeah, we were known.
You were known.
A bit notorious at times, but yes, we were
Okay.
we were known. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So at this age, in the elementary age, crossing over into like the middle school years, was this the only sport that you was like participating in? And what was the first team that you can remember putting the jersey on for really any sport?
Well, of course, a lot of the kids in all the Babylon Township, North Babylon, West Babylon, there's the little leagues,
Yeah.
and I remember, again, my brother was a pitcher, so I decided to pitch, and I played little league, and
Yeah.
what was a discovery for me is I forget how they labeled the leagues, but there was the 10 and 12 year olds, there was the 8 and 10, 10 and 12 year olds, and I'm 8 years old, and they wanted me to pitch against the 10 and 12 year olds.
Okay.
And that was fine until I got to the field, and my mother's my mother was driving me, and me of all people, I burst into tears.
Okay.
Not doing it, not doing it.
You got
And
stage fright?
oh my God, it was terrible, terrible. So I said, take me home.
Yeah.
And she drove around the block, and
Okay.
there was the Babylon Memorial Grade Schools where they had the games,
Right.
and drove around the block. And then by the time she got back, I'm like, take me home. She goes, get out.
It's not happening. Get out. Get out the
Yeah,
car.
she's tough, but it helped me a lot. But get out. But Little League baseball was the first thing, and
Okay.
it was fun.
And you're playing against guys 2 and 4 years old, 2 to 4 years older than you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was a big kid,
Yeah.
and I also, I could throw pretty hard, and
Yeah.
it's interesting when you grow up in a culture like Babylon and being in a family like mine. We just expected to to win. We expected to play well. We
Okay.
expected. we just expected it. And it was kind of one of those unmentioned things between my brothers and my sister. My sister was really the leader of all of us. I had mentioned her a little bit to you, but
Yeah,
and she, in those days with women's sports, it was very, very small
yeah.
and unrecognized. But uh, she was the one that probably competed harder than all of us.
Okay.
She played four sports at Babylon, and field hockey, basketball, softball, volleyball. And in her 4 years, I mean, she was a tall girl, and I don't think they lost more than maybe three games in all sports combined. So when we get down to we talk about championships and who did what with who, my sister has more wins than all of us combined.
Now,
So,
what's her name? We got to shout her out.
Carol Brust.
Carol
And
Brust. Carol
yeah, yeah,
Brust. That's
yeah,
big
yeah.
time.
My sister, she's gonna not like me for doing this, but I gotta put those responsible for my development out there first and foremost. So yeah, she was a big part of that.
That's a beautiful thing. So where did this culture, and then we'll start sliding into this to this middle school. Where did you feel like from the basketball team doing well, but inside of your household, where did the expectation come from? Did your parents play sports? What would you say their impact on you guys was for having that expectation to win?
Well, Dad never played sports. My father he was 6'6". He was about 180 pounds,
Okay,
and as a boy, grew up in Franklin Square,
okay,
uh, right there in Hempstead, and parents off the boat, and you wanted to play sports, and you're not playing sports, and that was just my grandparents' way. The immigrants, and you got to go to work, and so I think my dad always liked baseball, and my mother, of course, uh, she had sons and a daughter, and I was like, "Mom, is it okay?" And she just shut us out the door. I mean, it was literally to get outside. I mean,
get active.
today, you and I look at kids, and what's their leisure time on social media, their phones, and hanging out, and then it evolved into play dates, which I still don't understand. But our play date was get out, and there was a dirt backyard, and whatever sport was in season, that's what we did.
There you
And
go.
the kids all gathered out, and we'd play football in the dirt. We'd play touch football on the street, which wasn't touch.
Y'all
We'd play
crack out slamming each
basketball.
other, the cars, all that.
Oh yeah. Do it down and out,
Mailboxes,
and
everything,
then
fair game.
yeah, go down, turn right at the Chrysler, and then catch it before you. I mean, those cars were made out of chrome
Yeah, that's
and real
all
metal,
metal.
so it did a little bit of damage, but that's how it started,
Right.
and yeah, it really cool.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about the middle school years, man. You already seen the success of your older siblings. You've seen
Mhm,
success in the neighborhood. You mentioned the Vickers and their success going on. And you
mhm.
also mentioned that there's an expectation for you guys to win. What was it like sliding into the middle school, and were you, how many different sports were you playing at this time?
Well, coming into middle school, it was in the sweet spot of in '76. I'm 10 years old,
Right.
and 11 years old. So uh, Babylon basketball, Babylon's a postage stamp out, in the middle of Long Island, and all of a sudden, these guys are doing something special. So you just followed it, and it was it was just an incredible run, and I was so proud of the coaches and the players, and again, you talk about all these guys. We could talk about Glenn Vickers and Brian Vickers, his brother, and
Yes.
unfortunately passed a couple years ago, which was
R.I.P.
devastating. But there were but there was Stanley Davis, Barry Davis. I mean, but these are brothers, you
Brothers.
know.
There's another.
Yeah, the Bargers.
There's a, like a formation.
There's Gervis Barger. There, I mean, there's the Farley brothers.
Yes.
Played
Farley
at
brothers.
Babylon. Yeah, yeah.
So you got these brothers, these
The
brothers that.
Steve Farley, and
Yes.
Gary Farley, and there was a whole when you would go to a high school game, and as a kid, you just it was it was the event of a
Yes,
lifetime. It was a whole other life behind what happened. What I mean, really, and try to give people an understanding what it
please
was.
do.
You had our father, our dads, sitting up in the top row,
Okay.
and the moms were down. There was my mother, Mrs. Vickers, Mrs. Barger, Mrs. Farley, and up top was my dad, Mr. Vickers, Mr. Farley, uh, and they were up in the top row yelling instructions
Yes.
to to the boys on the
Yes.
court, and all the women were knitting, and they're just watching back and forth, and every once in a while, my brother's nickname was Boo because he put on a Halloween costume as a ghost, so my mother called him Boo as a kid. So every once in a while, you hear my mother scream out, "Come on, Boo!" And we'd all kind of frown, and then there'd be Mr. Farley up in the stands, and Steve Farley's nickname was Wiener. I'll
Okay.
leave
So
that
that
to the
boo on the
imagination.
court. Okay.
Yeah, so he'd be like, "Wiener, damn it, get on the boards."
Yes.
And the kid looks up, and they were more. The point being, they were more afraid of the dads, and
Of
and ultimately the moms. Mrs. Vickers would be there, and I remember watching Mrs. Vickers, watching Glenn and Brian, and they always. We all did this as we moved through. We always would look off the court to see what our parents were doing. It was like an approval thing,
it was a
and I
picture.
just remember Mrs. Vickers would always be very, very composed, as they all were. She'd be knitting, 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 but every once in a while she'd stop
Okay.
and she'd look up, and the boys would just kind of turn their heads, and she would kind of nod. I mean, they were communicating just,
Non-verbal.
yeah, nonverbal,
Non-verbal. You know what
and
that
then it was
means.
like all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's getting late. We have dinner. Like, let's finish these guys off,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
and the
Yes.
game was just over. I mean, it's just so there's a whole culture there that was built. With
That's
these
that's
families,
that's
and
great.
and then behind the scenes, the key to their success, and I see a lot of comments on here, and they talk about Glenn Vickers, and Glenn Glenn was the guy.
Yes.
He was the team leader. But I know if you ask him, he will affectionately tell you that we were really one big family, and that's not hyperbole or
Yes.
some nonsense to fit some culture or situation that's going on today. We literally were in each other's houses, and my mother would make big plates of lasagna. The teams would come over.
That's amazing.
I remember as a kid, there was a little toy baseball game, and there's pictures of me as a boy playing this with Brian Vickers on the floor, and he
That's
was
awesome.
patient enough to be with me, and it would be over their house, and literally this is how it was built,
Yes.
and so they just had this kind of once in a millennium, whatever you want to call it, uh, you know, thing happened where all the stars lined up, and this group just pounded the hell out of everybody. And then and the coach, head coach Roy Coble,
Cool.
yeah, was brilliant. I mean, the offenses he designed, but he needed them to perform. And I remember as a kid, it was a privilege to even be invited to the practices as a ball
Yes.
boy,
Yes.
and so you'd have to. I remember poor Barry Davis. Barry was he won the first Long Island championship, and then he graduated. But all I could hear is Roy Coble constantly, "God damn it, Barry! God damn it, Barry!" And poor
Barry was
Barry,
getting
Barry was like about 6'4", and about 180 pounds, and could, like, you think he could, like, high jump the basket, and but the things that certain guys were put through, but there was it just they just would. I remember what really attracted me was at the end of every practice,
it. Okay.
Steve Farley, my brother, Brian, Glenn, they would take their jerseys, their practice jersey, and they'd wring them out,
All the sweat.
and water would just hit the floor. So there was the work ethic. And how it translated to me was, if you work that hard, look what can happen. And it just, and like we talked about it, it's never been duplicated since. So that's kind of how I got my
So
mental start.
so you have, like, I mean, you have the ultimate front row seat where your brother is there. You mentioned the parents. Everybody kind of has this seating arrangement, It's
Mm.
one big family. You got nonverbal communication. You got nicknames. We playing games at each other's house, and
Yeah,
and we're winning, right?
yeah.
This is a
Oh,
special time in Babylon, and you're growing through this. So let's talk about like kind of sliding in from that late middle school into high school. Are you
mm.
still you recognizing what was built in there, and do you feel like it's my job to kind of keep this momentum going, or you're just like I just got to just go in there and kind of be me?
No, the first thing you quoted, and you've said, I was a traditionalist. I wanted to carry that on.
Okay,
And unfortunately for me, you know, that was normal to me.
that was
What was normal was you go win Long Island championships. That's just what you do.
that's the
I
expectation.
never saw size of school, didn't quite understand it, and so that was my mindset going into high school, and clearly that didn't happen, but yeah, I expected to win,
Yes,
as soon as and uphold the tradition at the school, and I think I did my part,
absolutely,
just the way I performed and how hard I played and the dedication I showed to the game. But yeah, I'd like to think that those that came before me, I wore their that uniform that they wore before me, and that they would be proud of what I did.
absolutely. So let's talk about ninth grade, right? Like, we're freshmen now, right? When did first of all, let me backtrack. When did football come into play for you?
Football. The
Are
first
you
two
the
years
first
of
one? Are you the first one to play in the family?
yes. Oh no, no. My brother Chris played.
Early, right?
Yeah, his freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then he didn't play his senior year because he was being recruited by everybody,
Yeah,
and
yeah. So let's
he's,
talk about a little bit about football, and then we're going to cross over into this freshman year. When did football get on the thing? Was you playing all the way young? Because you did say you was playing everything, but did you play like for a team in your younger years?
yeah, I was playing football in the church parking lot. That's all I knew about football
Okay.
until my junior year. The first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, I ran cross country because I wanted to have the lungs for basketball, and that worked out great. And I got it in my head, and people laugh at me when I say this because they always look at the finished product. They
Yes.
don't know what I was like before, and I thought that I needed to quote toughen up.
Okay.
And so I decided, the football coach his name was Tom Denov, and he passed a number of years ago. But he was so gracious and so kind to me. I was kind of hanging around the football field, in late August when they started practice. And I'm the biggest damn kid in the school. There's a number of things I could have done out there. So I'm like sitting there, and I had a bicycle, and I'm leaning up against the fence, and all the football guys are going, "What the hell's he doing here? What's he hanging?" And so again, it's like my little league experience. I told you I was ready to leave, and the
Yes.
coach comes over and it's like, "Something you want over here, Hoss?" And I'm just watching. He goes, "Well, why don't you watch a little more? Because you think you
Come
might
close,
want
a little
to do,
closer.
yeah, why don't you watch a little more?" And I mean, the tactic was brilliant. So he walked away. Then I'm watching. I didn't leave, and he came back, and he said, "Look," he said, "Do you like to catch the ball?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." And he says, "Well, why don't you just come on over, see if you like this."
Yeah.
So run down the field, and I had this great left-handed quarterback that my junior year, and he just throwing me bomb after bomb after bomb. I'm just running under the
Just
ball.
go to just nah. Just
Yeah,
go that way. Just go that
yeah,
way.
yeah, and I'm running 40, 50 yards. And I'll mention his name, and I hope he watches. His name was Sean Vincent, and not a guy I would hang around with in school, but we became pretty fast friends. So they're hitting me pass after pass. So I'm like, this is kind of fun.
I like this.
And so now in my ignorant young mind, I say to the football coach, I said, look, I can kick and I can go out for passes. And so he didn't like jump on me. He said, well, we could do this. He said, Sure, you want to kick the ball, fine.
Absolutely.
So
Like
he
whatever
says,
you
why
feel
don't
like
you
you do.
so why don't you just come out? And so I didn't know what pads were. I didn't know what any of those things were. And
Okay.
I'm putting on all this gear, and so I'm like, this is a problem. But I remember the first practice or two, and I'm thinking I'm going to get injured for basketball and
Right.
all kinds of paranoid things. And I get hit, padding, not so bad, doesn't
Not,
hurt
not so bad.
until I hit somebody,
Okay.
and they did a flip, and I was like, wow,
Oh.
this is pretty cool.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
I can hit people and not get arrested, or it was okay, and people actually cheered for it.
I can inflict
So
bodily harm and it's legal as
yeah,
long as I
I
stay within
mean,
the confines of the whistle.
I had a bit. I had a few rage issues, and I don't know anyone who didn't. But heck, I was. So I was sold on football. So I just started playing.
And what year was what grade was this? So we can be
This was my junior year. This was 82, 83. And the funny thing about it was I really got into it very quickly. So the coach was like, "Why don't you would like to play a little defense?" And I said,
Oh
"I could
yeah.
be a defense. I could be a defensive back." And so sure. So he runs me out there, and I'm hitting guys left and right. I'm a flanker on offense.
How big are you at this time?
I was about 6'4".
Six.
But again, I was about 190 pounds, but
You,
yeah, I was 6'4".
so you
Um,
was an imposing figure out there, man. It was like,
yeah.
okay, just come on now. So
Well,
he had to just ease you into you being in
yeah,
this
yeah,
role.
yeah. He was so very kind to me. Never pushed me or anything. But then I started doing the pushing, and it got really exciting because I didn't really drop a pass. Anything that came in my direction, I caught, and then I started intercepting passes, and it got exciting. So I remember going, and we can move on from this. I was speaking to the coach, and people were talking. There was news articles, and I'm
Okay.
like, why am I in the news? And yeah. So then I get this idea, and he was a health teacher, so I cut class, go see him in the middle of the day. I said, you know what, coach? I said, my goal this year, and I didn't have one like 3 seconds before. He said, I said to him, I'd like to make all league. And he goes, well, it's going to be tough, Matt, but, we'll work on it. And so we go through the season, we win our league. It's just so much fun, and just I played very well. I didn't know what I was doing.
You out there
So
cooking.
he calls me into his office at the end of the season. I'm all anxious because I'm like, yeah, I got this. I've got all
I'm
league.
in
This
all
is
league. I'm in
I'm
all
like
league.
this. I'm like, this is great. So I walk in. I said, Coach, the all league picks come out. He goes, yeah, they did. And he said, You're not going to like it. I'm just telling you right now." And I was like, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't
You
believe
better.
that, man. I said,
I
he
thought I did
goes,
well.
yeah, I thought he did really well. I said, this is bullshit. Whatever I said. And he goes, no, you didn't make all league. He said, but you did make all American. And I said, what? so he comes at him, and the guy starts hugging me. He's literally crying. He goes, I've never seen anything like this. He
I've
goes,
never
yeah,
seen
the all
anything like
American
this.
came out. And I was shocked.
Oh my goodness.
I was shocked. So
Okay, we got to process this. What's the family thing? Are you just leaning your bike against the thing, and you came out there, and now you're all American
I
in
was all
football?
American.
What's the
Yeah.
family think about that? I mean, we know that there's been the siblings have been cooking before. Was this expected once you go down? Because this might be an expectation of the family. Or that's like
Yeah.
what?
Well, I'll tell you what. It was really a problem for me. As
Wow.
I sound like a total ingrate, and I'm not. Without and lacking humility, but I was really upset about it for a little while because people started saying football, football. This stuff came out, um,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden I started getting calls from everywhere. Like
absolutely.
when my brother Chris got recruited, there was Dean Smith was in the gym, Digger
Yeah,
Phelps was in the gym, Terry Holland from Virginia was in the gym, Bobby Cremens, um, I forget whoever's out at UCLA, Kentucky, Joby Hall. I mean, Kentucky's in the living room. And
Oh my goodness.
I wasn't getting quite the traction that comes later, but football, it just everybody was calling. Miami was number one. They won the national championship.
Howard Schnellenberger.
Um, yeah, it's Howard Schnellenberger. That
Get the
was
heck out of it. That's a big deal because they don't usually come up north.
Howard. Believe it or not, my fast forward to my senior year, I'm watching the college
That's crazy.
the national championship, and they're playing. I don't know if it was Florida State. I don't know who it was for the national championship. So
Right.
they win, and and Miami's carrying them off the field, and I'm ready to shut the TV off, and I'm just watching. Phone rings. My mother answers. She's mad. It's for you. I was like, oh, it's maybe one of my friends want me to go out. So I'm trying to watch the games. I go, who the hell is this? He goes, it's Howard Schnellenberger.
Get the heck out of
He
here.
said, if I can't convince you to come to the University of Miami now, I never can. And I just went, uh,
Stuck.
go celebrate, coach. That was-
Stuck.
yeah,
Yeah, was that
it
was
was
that
pretty
was
wild.
that an overwhelming experience for you? Because it sounds like, and we got to touch on this a little bit more. It sounds like you're just a young fella that's enjoying being a young fella and just doing what he's doing. Obviously, you've seen the success of your siblings, but is this even like is this even like really processed in your mind to play at the next level yet, right?
Well,
Or was
it,
it? Good.
it
Well,
was.
obviously,
I mean,
football is new.
yeah, well,
Football is
football was new. I wasn't
football is new.
concussed at that point, so I was happy that I had my somewhat of my brains at that point. I mean, I always basketball, basketball, basketball. I was going to play Division One basketball,
Okay.
and
Okay. That was the thought process.
but honestly, I got a bit rattled. I mean, Lou Holtz was at Notre Dame. He showed up at the school, and just walked in the school, and the football coach. And he goes, the
Lou
senior year,
Holtz.
when I made the decision to play basketball, he came down and like his chest puffed out. He goes, I told Lou Holtz to go home. you know, and
Yeah.
it just, it was in hindsight. Look, how I read that ultimately, and of course, as you somewhat mature, you realize, look, I had, very, very good skills athletically that
Yes.
dovetailed nicely into football.
Yes.
And in football, you're 6'5", and they envisioned me probably about 240
Yup.
and could run and catch, and that's how you're
Monster.
rated. But
Monster tight
yes,
end.
yeah. So look, I was a prototype tight end,
Yes.
and that was
Licking their chops, and then also too, you had the basketball athleticism, right? Let me
well, that
let me
that that's
let
what
me
it was.
let me ask you, what was your style of play in high school as far as a basketball player? We haven't really deep dive into this. What type of player was you? You did mention some rage in there, right? But that let's touch upon the mental part and then the actual like the physical skill set. What type of player was you at, going through high school? Would you say? And anybody in the chat that knows Matt Brust, type in, man, what type of style of player was this guy, man, as we give him his flowers.
Well, here I am. I grew to 6'5".
Okay.
My brother Chris was 6'9". He was a high school center. Um, and I'm 6'5". I'm waiting to grow another 4 inches. It didn't happen. So what I had always practiced and worked on was I was doing big man moves at the old Smithtown Summer League, watching my brother play as a kid. So I went into high school as a quote center forward.
Right.
I mean, I was the biggest kid on the team,
Yep.
and that's what. So, that's what I went. And I played with my back to the basket. I started to do other things as I moved forward,
Mhm.
which I wish I would have done earlier. But yeah, I dove on for every ball. Uh, I tried to grab every rebound. I played, ferocious defense. I mean, I don't know how good it was, but I remember playing against Shelton. One of the first times I saw Shelton Jones, Amityville comes in, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And like, he's pretty good, and I don't know anything about him. And Amityville compared to us, they were stacked. I mean, it was literally 5-on-1. I mean, look, with all due respect to the the kids I played
Yeah.
with in high school, it's a small school. And when you have a tiny school, look, Amityville's got a very rich basketball program,
Yes.
um, which is incredible year in, year out for decades. But we just didn't match up. And
Hard to
but
catch up.
Shelton came in, and he's 6'7", and about 150 pounds, all wet,
Yes.
and he's trying to be a point guard, and he's bringing the ball up, and I'm just doing me, and honestly, why I was so tenacious or ferocious or whatever. As a kid, I'm watching Babylon High School when I'm also going to see Rocky for the first time.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Punching the meat and
I'm
everything.
like
Okay, okay.
I'm like I must have spent every penny I had going to, as long as it ran in the movies, mirror mirroring a movie, and so I'm out there
Rocky.
on the court with, they come to Babylon, and Shelton's bringing the ball over half court, and I'm up on him screaming in his face, come on,
Yeah.
come on.
Eye of the tiger.
Shell's just looking at me. Yeah, he's just kind of going, yeah, yeah. And we, we fought hard. I mean,
Absolutely.
we kept it close. I don't know if we actually beat them, but we gave them a game.
Game again. Who's coaching
Yeah,
you? Is it Coble still coaching, or who's coaching you in high school? By the time you start
probably.
getting there doing your thing.
Well, after they had won
Yeah.
the second championship,
Yep.
Coach Coble moved on to be the athletic director at the high school.
Okay.
Glenn Vickers had gone off, got recruited by Jim Valvano at Iona,
Yes, sir.
and with all the line, I mean, him and
Super,
Tom
super
Abatamo.
Long Island connection. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
that's another monster story. That Iona Gale situation.
he had a great assistant coach, and his name was Tom Abatamarco. And Tom, this guy could sell ice bowls to Eskimos in the Arctic Circle. I mean, this guy. I mean, I remember him coming in and just trying to talk to Chris and with Glenn, and we're going to get Jeff Rowland. And I'm like, that ain't happening. There's no way, no, at the time. But he got all those players, and and Glenn just, but Roy went to do some assistant coaching at Iona, and I think
Okay.
he got a little bit of that, and he just decided to be an athletic director at Babylon. So the coach that they hired, incidentally, was a baseball coach for my brother. He was a basketball guy. His name is Greg Walsh.
Okay.
And he was at Greg started out at St. John the Baptist and coached baseball and I believe some basketball there, but then was a coach at Rocky Point.
Okay.
He's very relevant in my development for sure. But to give you like 6 degrees of separation,
Please do.
he went he went to high school and played basketball with Rick Pitino
Ooh.
at St. Dominic's.
Ooh.
Yeah, so so
Yeah.
he's talking about his friend from high school, my friend Rick, and so turns out to be
Oh,
Ricky
that's Rick.
Pitino,
Oh,
so
that's Rick. Okay. Okay.
and he went, yeah, so he went
Wow.
to he went to Providence College, and all this nonsense. So it's just amazing how all these lives. But Greg Walsh came in and coached, did a fantastic job. We won our league a couple years in a row. So we must have beat Amityville once to do something
You
like
had to
that.
get them at least one time,
Yeah,
right? For you guys to
yeah,
get back.
yeah,
So shout out
yeah.
to you guys, man. You kind of carried the mantle, and like you said, man, it's not easy when you have that much talent aligned up with that coach, with Kobu, and have all of those special things happen in the
Mhm.
mid to late '70s, and kind of keep that going. It's not easy to do that, and there was a lot of talent on Long Island at that time. And like you said, man, you need a lot of things to kind of happen. But you did your part, man. You played hard out there. You had to continue to evolve your game because you grew up thinking you were going to be 6'9".
Yeah, well, absolutely. I'll tell you. Um, of course, my heroes, or the guys I emulated, were the Babylon guys, Glenn Vickers in particular, and of course my brothers. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention North Babylon.
Okay.
Babylon, North Babylon was powerful, and Babylon
Okay.
beat them, but North Babylon did get a piece of Babylon. But Stanley Wilcox, boy, you talk about smooth. I watched that guy just take our guards apart. And, he and Glenn would go up against each other. Kevin Hamilton, guy could shoot from, he was like the original Steph Curry, guy just corner, like, and then there was Stanley Davis, who was a guard at Babylon, and they would go shot for shot. Roger Cyrus. I
Yes.
mean, he handling the ball, he was a load, big guy,
Yep.
short, stocky, and but big, and he didn't want to get in his way. So he was, and then of course, there's Carlton Hurdle, who at the time was looked a little wacky, but he gave you problems, and
Yeah, no
so
problem.
those North Babylon clubs, I admired them as much as any other. I mean, Amityville was the other. I remember a guy's last name. His last name was Jenkins, and you may help me with this. Who played at Amityville at that time? And I remember watching this guy play in that triple overtime game.
Mark Jenkins, he ended up going on to Hofstra.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the
Mark
guy.
Jenkins. He's about
And
six
I
six.
mean, he really. I mean, that guy could play.
He's a good player.
So yeah, so these are all the influences that are
That's
around,
awesome.
and probably a 6 mile radius of land area.
Yeah.
All these great players. I mean, when North Babylon showed up, and just watching Stanley, for instance, I was just like, this guy is trouble.
He's trouble.
Talk about pacing back and forth. I'm like, we're not going to win.
Yeah, this is
And,
not good for us. This guy is really different.
and I'll tell you something that the people may enjoy, and you might enjoy, is Stanley Wilcox, Kevin Hamilton,
Yes.
Roger Cyrus would go over. Well, they would connect with the Vickers brothers, Glenn and Brian, and ultimate Willie, the older brother who played at Hofstra. He
Mhm.
played at Babylon before, but then when I played at Hofstra, he's a couple years older than Glenn. And my brother, I'm tagging along with my brother. He didn't want me to tag along, but I did. But Mr. Vickers had built a full court basketball court, in a full court in his backyard,
Ah, full corner
which
backyard.
was,
Oh man, y'all
yeah.
fancy.
Well, I think he worked for the city or something, and somehow he finagled asphalt to be
Get right.
happened to be at his house, and you know,
Let's do it.
but they had two baskets up.
Ooh.
But those guys, they would literally like climb a fence, and you want to talk about great basketball in your quote backyard? Well,
Mhm.
it literally was in the backyard. Mrs. Vickers would make food, and I
That's
I
awesome.
think my brother only allowed me to show up once for maybe 10 minutes, but that's what those guys played, and miraculous talent pool and just exciting basketball, and
So Matt,
we
where was you hooping at in the summertime? Where was you like, what I mean, what was your stomping grounds growing up through the high school years?
well we started at the Park Avenue basketball
I'm
courts in
hearing about this
Babylon.
Park Avenue. Talk to me about this.
Yeah, Well, it was great competition again.
Absolutely.
The Babylon guys were there. The North Babylon guys, the Amityville guys, some of the Wine Dance guys showed up.
Hey.
And West Islip was a joke. We would kick them out, so you're not allowed to step in
Oh no,
inside the
yeah,
fence.
they wasn't allowed in. No, no.
Yeah, that
I
West
gotta pay
Babylon, we
money
just
to come in.
yeah,
You gotta
West
make me
Babylon, we
pay.
just say. Like West Babylon guys would show up and like, you guys are just a bunch of bums. Just leave. You're a bunch of wood
Oh,
choppers. Get out of here. But that was a lot of basketball there, and that's how I started as a kid. But the breakthrough was Butch Delacave's Smithtown Summer League. I
mm,
mean, the Smithtown Summer League was everything, and that's where we played in the summer.
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Any camps? Did you go to any camps, 5-star camps, any of those types of things? Was you doing any of those things at the time?
I went to Coach Coble had a camp out in Long Island when I was young. And it's called East West Basketball Camp. It was like out in Southold or someplace like that, and
Okay,
like 300 kids. And Stan Kellner, the
Brentwood.
old coach of Brentwood, and
Yes.
Coach Mitchell Kupchak, and he would come out there, and he was part of the camp and give some great lectures. So I did that as a kid. Um, 5-star. I did not go to 5-star.
Okay.
couldn't afford it.
Okay.
Couldn't afford it.
Okay.
And so, it's just a economic thing. But I don't even remember. I don't think my brother Chris went to 5 star either. I
Okay.
think he was kind of told not to. I mean, he was being recruited by everyone by his junior year.
So how did
So,
the recruitment go for you basketball wise, and we'll kind of like slide into how we end up making our decision. What was the basketball recruitment? We just know Snellenberg is popping champagne and calling you like, listen, man, you see what I'm doing here in Miami, like we got a spot for you. So we know football. If he's doing that, the rest of the country is recruiting you. So
oh
yeah,
sure, everybody was, even
oh
at the very end with North Carolina. The football coach had contacted Coach
oh,
Smith and said, look, if Matt comes here, would you mind him playing two
can
sports?
we
And
share
Coach,
him? We need that
yeah,
talent
yeah.
right there.
So,
You're a pro. That's a pro type of a tight end right there. We need him. And like I said, the basketball, that element of seeing you move on the basketball court, football coaches love that. They like, yeah, yeah,
oh,
they love that. They love that. They just got to put a little
well,
bit of
and
pride.
and plus you get hit and be hit. I
Well,
mean, that
you
was
your first hit and flipping, dude, so they see it on film. So it's like we need that guy in uniform to help us move
yeah,
forward. Absolutely.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how was we getting recruited for basketball? Because you already said early on, man, I want to continue this lineage, not just from Babylon, but your household, man. Your sister might be
Right.
the best of your all. So you're like, man, I got to
Yeah,
continue. I got to stamp my claim
yeah.
here. How was the basketball recruiting?
Well, it was very quiet, to be honest. I got contacted. North Carolina, of course, my brother went there. They won the national championship in '82. I went to Coach Smith's camp as a junior. I was invited. Um, he liked what he saw, the type of player I was, and was recruiting me. Now, any player, if they were recruited by North Carolina at that time, would be through the roof, and you'd be so excited. But I always had it in my mind that they were recruiting me because of my brother. Uh, Chris had gone there,
You kind of felt
which
that.
is kind of silly in a way. It's because why would you? Probably the top college basketball program recruit, give a spot away that's so valuable. So I struggled with that at the time because I was like, they only want me because of my brother, which eh, there's more to the inside story there, but I was a totally different player than my brother. So as I got older, I kind of reconciled that with myself that it had really very little to do with him.
Okay.
So North Carolina, Michigan State, Judd Heathcote was at a bunch of games. Mike Dean was the assistant. Um, uh, he was like, you need to come to Michigan State. We had this young guy, Irvin Johnson, just graduate, and
Yeah, I heard of him.
he goes, there's a guy we want to pair you up in the back court with. And I'm like, who? And they said, Scott Skiles. I go, I don't know who that person is. I don't care.
Mm.
But it
The
was
same
Scott
guy
Skiles,
with the staff too. That would have been really
so,
good for
so,
you.
they were pretty heavy. And of course, St. John's
Hmm.
and Notre Dame, Digger Phelps came in and I remember he said, come out for a visit. We're not, and Timmy Kempton was out there.
Yep.
I didn't know Tim personally, but I knew he was a Long Island guy, and I
American
sat
man.
with him. Yeah, Tim was injured when I went out on my visit, and I just remember uh, Digger Phelps saying to me, "Went through the whole trip. You have a nice time." I'm like, yeah, it's interesting, the whole thing. He goes, "I just have one question for you." He said, "Is Carolina recruiting you?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Okay." I got back, and a phone call came in. It's like, "We're no longer recruiting you."
Whoa.
So that hit me pretty hard,
What do you think that was
and
about? What do you think that was about?
I I
Looking
don't
back.
know. I just think I don't think he wanted to compete with North Carolina at that time. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't think it was a personal thing at
No, it
all. It
wasn't a
just
personal
it
thing. It seemed like
no
something.
no.
Okay. Okay.
And the thing that I didn't realize, and this goes back to the we're expected to win and win championships,
Yes. Yes.
and personally we're supposed to achieve certain things. The one thing I didn't consider, obviously, I wasn't too smart as a young person, but when I got older, I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
Now, the pool of 6'5" guys that are trying to get into D1 basketball, say there are 1,000 players, about 800 of them are guys 6'2" to 6'5".
Yeah.
And there's maybe 100 guys that are over 6'8". So my
Yes.
brother fell into that category. Now my brother was a very good player, and kudos to him. But I never considered that as a possibility. Failure wasn't an option, and
Yeah.
I clearly, in my mind, was failing. St. John's was there. Loved Lou Cornseca. Um, but once they recruited Shelton, and Shelton went there, it kind of died off.
Okay.
So there was I was I was a little bit heartbroken over that, to be honest with you. And here's football's raging. I mean, everyone's calling, hiding in the bushes. I'm going to high school. Oh, there's Coach so and so, and I'm literally running away. Yeah, and the reason
Wow.
why I was what it got to me about football. I went to see, my brother was at Carolina. We went to a football game. We got right down on the field, and these guys are my size, and the 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 ideology with college football guys uh, it wasn't to win the game, it was to put your opponent in the hospital. And it was nice at Babylon, and we played some solid teams, but I was kind of one of the bigger guys out there, and there were some big guys that I was fine with,
Right.
but it was wild. And
It was a field
listen,
full.
I have no facts, but guys all of a sudden are growing muscles on top of their muscles. I'm like, how's that happening?
Mm.
And so we'll just leave that alone. I think it's pretty
Yeah. I
obvious.
think you could read between
So
the lines.
yeah. So I just was. It troubled me a lot. In fact, there was a writer in Newsday where you're getting a lot of your material, which is great.
Yes.
Um, he wrote a wonderful article at the time, and I think it was entitled "The Quiet Recruiting of Matt Brust," and it was the article headline was "The Tower of Babylon," and it was the picture you guys have for that was one of the pictures they used. But
Yes.
it was so kind of them to do an article on me, and I was really really upset about it because my heart was in basketball. Football, I just, this was great. It served a purpose, but I also had a little bit of foresight. I'm like, how long am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I thought basketball was going to be a long time. I mean, we all thought we were going to be, I mean, you talk about Michael Jordan. I mean, I knew him when he was 18 years old, when he was at
Right.
Carolina, when he played with my brother,
With your
and when
brother.
he hit the shot in New Orleans, and the rest is history. But
History.
we all thought, I'm sure he did. We were all going to be, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird, or
Absolutely.
I mean, and going back in the league, I mean, the league was dead. I mean, there was Bernard King, and then and there was Jay, Dr. J, and a few others, but the league was sort of dead. I mean, you could
Yeah.
go to see the New York Knickerbockers and walk down to the front row. So, but when Bird and Magic came along, they resurrected the league. So we all thought,
Please.
we were going to be one of
I
those
could be a
guys.
part of that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will. I could
So
be a big part of that. That's your thought process. So was you
yeah,
so you got you have all of America recruiting you for football, but you're not really interested like that. And your processing, and my heart is not in that. I'm really good at that, but my heart is not really in it. And basketball, my heart is all the way in there. And this
mhm,
recruitment thing, and man, it's kind of like really tugging at my heart, right? It's kind
yeah,
of giving me this emotional roller coaster. Is that fair to say?
absolutely. And
So how
but
did it? What happened? Yeah, tell me what happened, man. Like who
well,
how did it come down to the few teams that I mean schools that we looked at, and then what was the decision?
I didn't really explore any other schools. There was nothing to explore. My high school coach said we can make some calls. There was Providence. I'm trying to remember the coach's name. Oh my God, it's such a sin that I don't remember his name. But he was there for a long time, and he was calling me constantly. But I just he goes, "Would you like me to call schools?" And I thought it was so humiliating to do such a thing. And again, I had such high standards for myself that
Right.
I just was like, if they don't call me, why would I call them? They don't want me.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty much easy decision. I committed to Carolina, and I ended up going there, and yeah, that was the decision process.
Wow. So what was that experience like, right? You know what I mean? I'm sure you wanted to explore other teams. You're like, this is not quite shaking out the way that I was anticipating.
Right.
But I feel like this is probably the best decision. How close was you before we closed the door? How close was you to looking and entertaining football in college? If we had put
I, I, I wasn't. I got there at Carolina. I was no, I did. It passed for me, and quite frankly, I was fortunate enough to leave it on the field. I had no regrets. To
Yep,
this day, I have no regrets, and I know some of the guys that I've met through the years, and some of these guys can't walk. They got plastic joints and all kinds of things, and
facts.
like, yeah, thank God I didn't go through that. But
Yep,
no, I went to Carolina, and look, I played very, very hard there. It was definitely not a fit for me, which was a real problem, and it was a real low time for me when I was there. I had some great teammates there. One of the guys I'm still friends with today.
yeah,
We don't see each other, but David Popson from Pennsylvania. I mean, my God, I never saw a guy jump higher than him. I mean, when I got there in '84,
yep,
after I graduated high school, all the Carolina guys would come back and play in Carmichael Auditorium, and you're talking about guys like Al Wood, um, Michael Corrin. You're going back, and then there's Dudley Bradley, who's an incredible defensive guy, and Michael Jordan, young Michael Jordan's out there, and we're playing. We're out there playing with all these guys. So
wow,
yeah, that was an incredible experience. But it did not work out for me. It was very. I was very different than my brother. My brother enjoyed the college experience, and just say that.
yeah,
I was there to compete,
yeah,
and I don't know if I was really quite given the opportunity there. Um, there was the inner workings of what went on there was very businesslike.
okay,
Um, I think there was some history there with my brother that didn't go well with them and a longtime assistants,
okay,
Coach Guthridge, and they just, I just, I was treated pretty harshly, and that was fine. But I knew come end of December, I said, I'm out of here. And I
okay,
didn't know where I was going to go. Didn't
okay.
know what I was going to do.
So we're talking about half of you. So the first semester, you're like, this ain't it.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. I mean,
Okay,
I was really, there's a lot of things that I'll take with me to my grave, and,
right,
and, and it's better that way. But there were some things that were really not good. And I ended up just, I had to leave. I
okay,
didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I was going to go. And yeah, some things happened after that.
okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the transparency. Because anybody that says like, I think these are why these conversations are amazing because there's a human element to all of it, right? You and I
Hmm.
both know when you see most people that will be considered like a fan of a school of a team, they just see the uniform. They don't see the inter
Absolutely.
they don't see the inner
Hmm.
workings of the human, the human contact, the thought processes, the emotional things, stuff going on at home,
Hmm.
all these different types of things, fits, right? Fit. So they'll be like, man, you're at the University of North Carolina and
Yeah.
you're unhappy, right? So it's really hard for some people to even wrap their mind around that. But I can
Yeah.
pick up what you're putting down very easily,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
And it's a real thing. It was a real thing for you. I got to get out of here.
yeah.
And you got somebody else
Well,
that's like,
it
man, I
was.
will want to be there. I don't care how they treat me. I want to be there, right?
Yeah.
So this was a real thing for you. You had to get out of there, and you didn't even really know what your next move was. How were you in the family processing this?
Well, I was in contact a lot with my oldest brother, and he was trying to talk me off a ledge more than one night, and I played so very hard, and it wasn't for lack of ability. It wasn't for lack of I was playing, above my head. I mean, Kenny Smith and I went at it in high school in the Newsday Classic, but Kenny was one of my suite mates and played together, and it was a fit. But we'll just leave it at it. What it didn't work out for
Yes.
me there. So at the end, I I called home, and I was back and forth with my family and
Yeah.
my mother, and I said I have to leave. I said I'm losing my mind here. This is
Okay.
not. This has turned out to be like a horror show, and believe me, it was a horror show after, because when I had left, I was definitely viewed in my community as a failure, which said a lot about my relationship with
Wait,
Babylon at the
wait, time
time.
out, time out, time out. Hold on. Let me just make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Other people were viewing it as a failure, or you felt internally like other people were viewing you as a failure,
Well,
or
put it this way:
yeah,
if you left St. Francis
yeah.
and you decided to go to Hofstra, or something like that, and all of a sudden you start walking through Amityville, and everyone a year ago is, oh, you're the great, you're this, you're that, and everyone's like turning their back and walking away. That's real.
Ah, okay.
And I remember
It was a different.
I just remember showing up at a high school football game when I had transferred, and I mean, talk about no one wanted to talk to me. I thought I was like a leper or something,
How'd
but
that
it
make
was
you feel?
real.
How'd that make you feel, Matt?
Oh well, what it did for me, look,
Uh,
when I was leaving Carolina, I had a conversation, and there was a beat writer in Long Island. Again,
okay.
this wonderful Long Island connection. His name was Ed Kirkman, and he used to do a lot of wrote for Daily News. He did a lot of articles on Babylon and the '75 and six teams, and that won the Long Island. But he was very kind to me and did a bunch of articles. And I don't know how my mother did it, but she got in touch with him, and I had said to my mother. She goes, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, most of my family, extended family, is from Flushing, and my mother was by herself in Babylon. And I said, well, if I'm going to sit on a bench and I'm going to go through hell, I'm going to do it near home. And so she goes, okay, let me see what I can do. It's my mom. What did she? So she calls this
She
beat.
was knitting and
She
saying.
calls yeah. So she calls this beat writer,
Okay.
and great guy. And she goes, do you know Lou Cornasecca? And he says, my mother's name is June. June, I'll call you back.
I'll call you back.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway,
No way. No way.
there's a connection made,
No way.
And Coach Conaseca says, how soon can he get up here?
No way.
Well, yeah. So I fly up. We're playing Carolina. We're playing SMU on national television, and I'm flying. I flew up to New York, and Coach Smith is saying to me, "Well, let's talk about your future." And I said, what are you talking about?"
What do you?
And yeah, and he goes, "Well, I think we could send you to Indiana, because I think you'd fit in well with Bob Knight." And he goes, "Or we can send you to Hofstra, or maybe a Delphi." So there was a bit of sadistic sort of stuff there, and we'll leave
Yeah.
it at that.
Yeah.
So I said, I'd flown up to see St. John's, and I had basically sat in a coach's office, told him my tale of woe,
Yeah.
and he just I told this one story which will resonate with me forever. And I was telling him how one time in practice, I remember Brad Daugherty coming in and try to dunk the basketball on me, which was not a hard thing to do. But I literally cracked him. I didn't even try to block. I cracked him, and he just went backwards. And Brad was always trying to be like this tough guy. And I just looked at him. I said, F you. I said,
Yeah.
you want to go right here? I said,
Like,
he's I know you're scared of me. I said to him, I looked at him, I said, you don't see anybody backing up, do you? And so we got separated by Roy Williams, and
not real.
Matt Brust is going to cause us a ball game if by using foul language and blah, 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 and made us run,
Running,
which
running,
was
running.
fun. I was telling Coach Cornacek this, and along with a million other stories. And I remember his eyes just squinting and looking at me. He's like, okay. He said, look, I don't know about all that stuff that went on. And I understand. He goes, but let me tell you something. Never trust a guy who doesn't curse. Now, now, he says, now go get registered.
He said he's like
so,
he's like
so
he's
I,
like he's like, dude, you belong in the Big East.
yeah,
What are you
right. Talk about being
doing?
at
Like,
home.
what are you doing in
And
North
I
Carolina?
wasn't I wasn't a cursing guy. Tristan, I wasn't. I didn't speak that way. But boy, I
You
picked
had
up
all that
fast.
pent up frustration
Oh
and all of
boy,
these thoughts and the mistreatment and
yeah, yeah. It was just so I ended up going back to Carolina. We play SMU, and Coach Smith says, and I have to go through uh, follow the rules. And I said, well, call up St. John's, and he goes, St. John's. He said,
yeah,
they don't want you.
call
He
them
said,
up.
he said, and this was the time when St. John's was ranked number one when they had all
Yes,
those
call them
battles
up,
with
man. You know what I said.
Georgetown, and well, they're loaded. This and I said, I just called.
Give him a call.
So it gets. I just remember the Coach Smith's face. I mean, this was priceless. This is worth going through hell. He's on the phone. He's like, "Hello, Louie," and Coach Cornaceka. He's a New York guy.
Yeah,
He's
New
not.
York guy. Yeah,
He's just
yeah. So
sharp there.
that's gonna be a
So
classic.
so I hear him say, "Hello, Dino," and Coach
Yeah,
Smith, very very smart, and just but didn't realize he was walking into this one, and so he goes, I got one of my players here, Matthew. First of all, only my father and mother call me Matthew, and usually it's I'm in trouble. So
oh
it
man,
was kind of a little bit of a thing. I have
he's taking
Matthew
all the
Brust here. Yeah, he goes, I have Matthew Brust here. He thinks that he could be part of your team. He goes, send him up. I love him.
he
So
should have been
I,
here. He's a
I
Big East
literally,
guy.
yeah, he
Yeah,
goes, send him up. I love, and Coach Smith's like jaw drops,
jaw
and
drop.
I just get up out of the chair. I go, goodbye.
Goodbye. Send the
So
transcript over there, man. You know what they.
yeah,
So your mom brokered this deal,
you see,
dude.
my mother broke the deal, and
Your
she was a
mom
church
brokered the deal.
secretary. I mean, who would have known she was a
Oh my
sports agent?
goodness. So when she's knitting, catching all of that. Let me make a call. And she
Yeah,
brings the beat writer to make a call to Luke Hornacek for a
yeah,
perfect fit. Uh,
yeah.
and now you're in the Big East, man. So talk to me with that, man. Like I feel like now the neighborhood was like, man, you went to this prestigious school, right?
Hmm.
And you didn't stick it out. And you didn't
Right.
represent us because we can connect to you by connecting to them. So we're gonna turn our
Yeah.
back. And you're like, all right, that doesn't feel good.
Well,
This is not you're gonna kick me while I'm down, but
oh yeah, yeah. Well,
kick me while
you
I'm
know
down.
how it is. I
I
mean,
do.
you
I
know, as
know.
being an athlete,
Yes.
and you're great while you're winning, but when you lose, you're the village asshole and
Chop
whatever you
liver.
are. And but when I came back, honestly, my basketball life started when I left North Carolina.
Talk to me.
Reality set in, and that's when I turned into this kind of hustling, hardworking kid. And honestly, I just turned into a killer. I just I couldn't in those days, and rightfully so. When you make a monumental decision like transferring, it wasn't instant gratification, and we could go on of all the BS that's going on today with these kids because they're all being crippled by this. I had to think about what I was doing. You had to sit out.
Gotta sit
And I
out.
ended up sitting out, and I got back to battling, and I couldn't afford to go to school, and I could only afford for uh, two classes. My mother had to pay for it, and Coach Gronaseka said, "Listen, and affectionately, and which I love, he says, make sure your ass is in my office. You don't go hide out there, in that country out there,
Well,
and
yeah, you're like
battling.
out in that Long Island thing that you from. Don't
Yeah,
go out
yeah.
there.
So when I first got home, and my mother looked at me, and she goes, "You're not sitting here." She goes, "You're going to get a job."
Yup.
And
Exactly.
so a friend of the family, one of the Farley uh, brothers, the younger one, Gary, great friend of mine, younger brother than Steve, that played with on that '75 team. His uncle owned a Toyota dealership in Oakdale. So I went from North Carolina, all this schooling, all this stuff, a beautiful campus. I'm working in a garage. And
Really.
I'm basically what they would term it as prepping cars. Now, prepping cars means that when they bring new cars in, when someone buys a car, it comes in plastic and the seats are all out and it's got to be cleaned, buffed, shined, all this crap. So I'm in there in Greece for 4 months, going back and forth to St. John's.
Humbling.
And so let me tell you, Tristan, I became hyper focused. I was what that made me absolute murderer.
Murderer.
I just knew when I was getting back to St. John's after that experience, the best experience I could have had, for having my face rubbed in crap like that,
Yup.
and gaining true humility and having gratitude for the gift that Coach Cornaceka gave me.
Yup.
The first day of practice, I must have dove like 5 times, and I noises came out of me I didn't know could, and you know, Coach Cornaceka, Ronnie Rutledge, and Brian Mahoney. Brian Mahoney just embraced me. He goes, "This guy's the greatest." You know? And I go, "I
I
don't know
love it.
but I don't know what I'm great at." But I then transformed from being like a high school sort of forward. I mean, it started at Carolina, but I was a guard. And to make that transition, right, to face the basket and the hard work I put in with it, uh, it just became another world to me. So when St. John's, took off, the one thing that happened at Carolina, I felt pretty good about, and not for these former players, but there were guys that did transfer from Carolina. I remember Dean Schaffer, who left there. He went to Florida State, just a name, and a lot of players, but they never really,
Yeah.
you never heard of them again.
They didn't really
But
take off. Yeah.
so I went through hell that year, and Coach Cornaceka,
Wow.
it became the preseason, and he said, your ass is at practice, and we want you here because you're kicking the hell out of Walter, and you're beating the hell out of Mark Jackson, and Willie Glass, and Shelton was there, and
Making
Shelton
everybody
was my
better.
Shelton, best, nicest guy, and we're friends, of course, to this day. We're family. He's like, Matt Brust, you don't know this guy. He's like, we go, Matt Brust, you don't understand this guy. He's not all there. He's like, it's this guy's, because you wait. It was like he was like a proud, like, brother to me. Like, oh, wait till you see him.
Wait till you see him.
Yeah,
Wait till you see him.
yeah. So it was. I was really welcomed there, and it just and exploded. I had to sit out, um, but it really came full circle. My first year, I could play,
Yup.
and I started out as a six man,
Yup.
for the first 4 or 5 games, and then we had the ECAC Holiday Festival,
Mm-hmm.
which was the incredible Christmas tournament at Madison Square Garden. In those days, that was the tournament.
That's the
And
big dog.
oh, so the year I played, there was St. John's, Georgia Tech. That was with Mark Price and John Sally and Mark Dalrymple, all those guys. There was Terry Holland in Virginia, and there was Memphis State, and they were all powerhouses in that tournament. So after 5 minutes, they throw me in the game, and I just have this crazy tournament. Uh, I I ended up making. They had all tournament, like 5 players. I was named to it, and like it was just a shock. Like everybody was like, "Where the hell did this guy come from?" And
Yep.
I instantaneously became a fan favorite. I was not the best player out there. I was not close to being the most athletic, but what I was, and I think people related to this, was, you know, they knew that I played, it was all heart, and I honestly never remember getting booed. If I screwed up, but people were more like, "Oh, like shucks, like come on, you can do it." So
Got the
I
next.
appealed to the nature of people who just were 9 to 5ers and worked hard,
Absolutely.
and it evolved into this thing where it was such a privilege and an honor for me to perform in Madison Square Garden. The listeners were great, but the kindness that and the joy that I gave to people, they went out of their way to come and see me for 2 hours,
Yep.
and freezing cold, just to escape from life and whatever else. It was such a gift to be able to give that. That my basketball life came full circle. I remember Bobby Cremins coming up to me after the tournament, and he's an original New York guy. He used to drive a taxi in New York
Yeah.
before he was coaching. So he comes up to me and he says, "Holy shit, Brust." He goes, "Why didn't you tell people you were leaving?"
Right.
I said,
Hey, I would have made. You should have called
I,
me, man. Now I'm seeing this. This is turning into Rocky.
Yeah, maybe,
This is
maybe,
turning into
but
your guy that you was spending
uh,
that money on, right? This is a Rocky. This is the blue collar story that, like you said, the blue collar 9 to 5 guy can relate to, especially in New York. So
yeah,
you're a fan favorite because you're like, man, I had an experience at the Plush UNC and it wasn't my fit.
yeah,
And they gave me a second chance, and this is my fit. And I want to make sure that I leave everything on the court, and they appreciated that. And you was making everybody better. And it was a whirlwind. I'm sure it's a whirlwind because you was just like, I was going through it, man. I'm out there putting cars together.
yeah. I
My
mean,
grandson is back on
could,
me.
could you imagine? Could you imagine today with
Wow.
the NIL and all this stuff, and you can't even get a kid on the court, say run and touch that line, and dive on the ball. They're looking to tell the coach, go hang yourself, and it just how the game has evolved into what it is now. It's painful to watch. But again, that being said, I was so gifted with the experience, and let me, there were guys around me that I played with in high school, and I know this is a Long Island. Uh, Basketball history site, which is super important. I can't say enough about the impact of Derek Brower.
There you go. Yeah.
We played together in the Empire State Games. We were all enemies, and but we became very, very fast friends. And Derek was one of those, another guy who was he wasn't under the radar, but he had to fight through adversity himself. I mean, there was Russell Pierre at St. John's. I mean, I'm sorry, at North Babylon at that time, and
North Babylon.
Russell was incredible. And but Derek ended up going to Syracuse and had a terrific career. But if it wasn't for someone like him, Shelton, um, those guys competing in All-Star games, and our All-Star games were real games,
Yes.
and there's all this talk about the Newsday Classic and fascination with it, and it should be. I mean, but if it wasn't for those guys, just looking at them, the box scores, what did Derek do tonight, and what's
Definitely.
Shelton doing at St. John's, and that propelled me forward. So I look, I'd love to say that I'm this wonderful person that did all these incredible things on my own. It would be negligent of me not to mention guys like Derek, who is
Absolutely.
they were friends with me. They knew my mom, my family. I knew his dad, and so kind to me. And my mom driving us to the wheelchair classic in a AMC Maverick, which had rust holes in it, and we're like driving through the Bronx, and Derek's like, "Don't worry about it, man. I got you."
I'm good. Don't even worry about it. Y'all look in the road. They're like, I got you. Don't we
And
good.
my mother's
You're
like,
like,
my
Derek,
mother's
you
driving.
sure? You sure? You like, I
Yeah,
got
Tristan, mom's in the front seat, and
you.
she's going, God sending Michael the Archangel to protect us as we go through. I go, well, who's filling the gas tank, Mom? And Derek, so don't worry, Mrs. B. We'll take care of
We
you. It's all
good.
good.
We
And
good. We
it
good.
was hysterical. And we get to the wheelchair classic, and it's at Columbia, and we we come out on the court, and I'm like, I'm never going to find my mother. And, talking to Derek, and he goes, I see you, Mom. And he points up to the crowd. Like, she's like the one white face in
The one white
like
face is saying,
3,000. Yeah. And so I'm like, he goes, I told you, I got you. Don't
I
worry,
got
I
you,
got
dude.
you.
And
And
that after that one, you
I,
like, he
I
does. He
was like,
really got
I was like, you better, you mother. I said, because I know your
you.
father. I
Yes.
said, and his father was tough. Great man, great man. But again, I would not to digress, but I should digress. It's just if it wasn't for guys like that, I wouldn't even be close to the player I
I
was.
think
And,
that's
and
I think that's awesome because also too, just um being from Long Island, there's an extra layer, extra barrier that you have to kind of jump when you're attached
Mhm.
to NYC. We're always kind of that, oh yeah,
Yeah,
them too, right? So it does. It brings. another layer of joy when you actually can accomplish certain things. So it is cool to celebrate some of the other ones like Derek Brower that you come in contact with through All-Star games and playing amongst each other. So salute to you, man, for not giving up, man. Because like you said, man, you came to a crossroads, man, and you was thinking
Yeah.
about like, man, this is not for me. And if
Mm.
something's about to happen bad to somebody right now, so I got to get
Yeah.
out of here.
Well,
And
well,
for
the last thing I will say about it, and it always, and we lost him last year, is, Luke Carnesecca. I mean,
yeah,
I was
he's
fortunate
a
to
legend.
play for Phil Jackson. I was fortunate enough to play with Dean Smith for a while, and what that man did in 40 years with St. John's, and St. John's is just a postage stamp, a cement block in the middle of Queens.
Yes, it
And I
is.
went to Carolina, and there's butterflies and girls everywhere and all this other stuff. And you go to Queens, we're on Jamaica Avenue, and bullets are flying by my first night there. And I'm like, what the hell did I do? But
You went to the ad.
oh yeah, oh, of course. And I remember Willie Glass. He's like, "Hey man, Willie didn't say two words to anybody. And, he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I'm like, hiding in my apartment. And so I think Coach probably said, take Long Island out to the store, do something so he's not walking around scared. So he says, "Come on, I'm gonna go buy a pair of jeans." I said, "Okay." So he goes, "We're going to the Queen Center Mall." I'm like, okay, how are we getting there? And so, I don't know how we got there. It's somebody's stolen car or whatever it was. So he goes, come on, you love this place. It's VIM. And I'm like, all these things are pretty cool. Again, I'm the only white face in
Yeah, you're
there.
like, hold on, I can
But
kind of
but, but
like
I
this.
was totally relaxed. It's really like, this is my man.
Yeah,
This is Matt. He's St. John's, and
he's
everyone's
St.
coming
John's
up,
guy
and
now.
it just
So much love. Now the love is
no,
on. The
all
love is
those
on the gen-
guys.
Yeah, facts.
They were so good to me, and so kind. But Lou Carnesecca, you
Hmm.
want to talk about someone who saves a person's life? And believe me, I wasn't the first.
Wow.
And Wayne McCoy, who went
Wayne
to St.
McCoy.
John's.
Beautiful.
Wayne went through a lot,
Went through.
and
Yep.
but I watched that man, just scoop me up off the scrap heap, and
That's
he
amazing.
got me to be my very best self. But more importantly, he gave me a sense of humility,
That's a
of gratitude, what was honorable and decent, and we were a family, and we didn't see there was no difference from one guy to the next, and it's every time I think about him, it chokes me up because what he did.
yeah,
I mean, he was the most successful coach, and not because I had him, but with the tools he had. I mean, you
right.
look at Wooden, you look at Smith, you look at Rupp. They had these beautiful campuses, and you went for no one really transferred in those days, and they sold all these things. Were they excellent coaches? Of course they were.
Yeah,
But Coach Carnesecca got guys literally off the scrap heap,
yeah.
and to say, come to St. John's, I'll take care. I'll never forget it. But when I walked in, I told him, he said, don't trust anyone who doesn't curse. He went over, and my mother's crying, and, he just puts his arm around my mother and he says, I'm going to take care. He's now my son.
Wow.
And I,
That's a big deal.
that was just, that was
That's
incredible.
That's
Yeah.
a big deal, Matt.
Yeah.
Salute to you and much love and to a legend in Lou Carnesecca. This is an amazing story because I don't think a lot of people even know that I mean Matt Brust was in the newspaper a lot, and then there was a abrupt end to the UNC situation, and then you end up St. John's, and I mean really pulled yourself up from the bootstrap to become a fan favorite over there amongst a bunch of other pro players
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
Madison Square. Like you can't hide there. so so
Oh,
so in
yeah.
Madison Square, but you was like, listen, man, this is really a real life Rocky story. I'm gonna leave everything out there, man. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
impactful, and I'm gonna be grateful for the opportunity that Coach Carnesecca gave me. So, man, salute to you and to Coach Carnesecca, man. This is an amazing story of all of the
Coach Carnesecca would say, I remember the first time, my first game at Madison Square Garden, I sat in the front seat of the bus. I was just this regimented fool that I had superstitions and all kinds of nonsense. But I remember coming over the rise of the Midtown Tunnel, and we were the show. the Empire State Building was red and white.
Nah, no,
And I was like,
so
oh my God. I go, is
yeah,
that for us? And Coach Karnaseka walked from the back to the front and he leans over, he goes, guess what? You played in some great places, but your ass is about to be on 34th Street in New York City.
nothing like
So,
it's nothing
and
like
he used to affectionately say, your ass is in Macy's window. And coming from Long Island and being stupid, I didn't know what that meant, but I found out fast.
it's real
I
fast.
mean,
It's nothing. There's nothing like it. We
wonderful,
but there's nothing
wonderful.
like it. And for you to have that amount of success and really getting it out the mud, man, it is Rocky like, and that's awesome because you was pulling that whole thing from there. Because you could have quit, man. You could have quit. You could have said, man, listen, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And you had an opportunity given to you. You took full advantage of it. So shout out. Name a couple of people that was on St. John's with you, and then we'll say how this thing finished up. Because St. John's, man, this was a booming time, man. Who were some of the teammates that was on there? For those who don't know.
Oh, let's see. Well, of course, I got there. Mark Jackson and I
Yeah,
we were in the backcourt together for,
yeah,
God, it was 2 years. Definitely one. Mark clearly is. Let me tell you, Mark wasn't who Mark turned out to be. But
hmm
there's another guy who worked his ass off.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, Mark Jackson. There was Willie Glass, of course. One of my favorites is Shelton, of course, and
That one was there.
yeah, Shelton was there. Let's see. Oh my God, there's all these guys that I play with through this. Well, later on there was Boo Harvey,
Boo Harvey.
and yeah, Boo
Boo was cooking
could
out
play. And his backcourt buddy from San Jacinto was Mike Porter, and I never saw a guy that was 5'5" that could jump his height. He wasn't really 5'5"; he was probably about 5'9". But I mean, incredible athlete. Yeah, of course, my redshirt year it was Walter, uh, and of course I got to work with Chrissy Mullen, and when
there. Oof.
yeah, and again they welcomed me and uh, going to see their family, and unfortunately they had some tragedy at the time. But I played with Terry Mullen, his youngest brother, and
Yeah,
later on, and oh, there was a bunch of role players that were just great guys. Steve Sharina was a guard out of St. Francis Prep. Marco Baldi, you know, uh,
yeah,
only 6'11" guy to ever come out of Italy,
yeah.
but just a fantastic, fantastic guy. Yeah, and the competition, of course. Yeah, we
He was in the
look.
gold. It was in a golden era when you're playing in the Big East, man. Those stories is worth another part two, three, four, five.
Oh
Right,
yeah, we
right,
could
like
go on
that.
to like the,
Go on
the
forever.
competition and the verbal that went back
Oh,
and forth
oh
with
yeah,
with
man.
guys and coaches, but there was always these guys in the background. There was Derek, and we had to be enemies, for a while, but
Yeah.
I give anything for any of these guys. You needed a kidney, needed a lung, whatever. They're just my family now, and we're all too old to fight at this point. We're just
Yeah, we just gotta love. We just
we
gotta
we all
love
stick
one
together
another.
now, so it's
Fuck
really
out
funny how
that.
it's like the kids in the playground. They go out, they stalk each other, and they finally have a fight,
Yeah.
and then it's like they walk away, hugging each other, and they're best friends
That's my
after
good
that.
friend
So
now from here on out.
yeah,
We just
yeah,
proved everything to each other, and now we good friends. We think a lot
yeah.
alike, man. We moving. So at the end of the St. John's career, man, what are we thinking as far as going on to the next level? Is that even a thing, a thought process in your mind? Did you sit down with Lou Carnesecca and say, "Hey, man, this is you got a shot to do this"? What's the thought process, or is
I,
it like I'm done?
it's this is another crazy part of the story was I'm not going to the pros. I mean, I did what I came. We won a national championship, won the NIT in 1989, and
Yeah.
as I told you, my brother Jerry played in the '74 College World Series and won two games in the World Series against Florida State, but he lost. And Chris won the national championship at Caroline, and I won the NIT at St. John's. So the family joke is, when we would get together, is uh, we'd look at my oldest brother Jerry and say, "Loser buys." So.
Automatic. You know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, but coming into that, I had a job interview set up, and down on Wall Street, some brokerage firms, and
Yeah.
my athletic skill set dovetailed nicely into sales and trading and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I got a call from Carnesecca's office, and they need you to come up here. And okay, and he said, well, we got a call from Jerry Krause. I'm like, who's that? And he goes, Chicago Bulls. And this
Oh.
is when Chicago was challenging,
Oh.
against the Pistons. And yes, they want to see you. Um, and he goes, he wants to see you with Phil Jackson, and you're really not supposed to know about that, but they're playing the Knicks at the time,
Okay.
and at that time in the playoffs, and they want to see you at the Hyatt in the city. So
Okay.
I'm not too bright, never claimed to be, and just leave it at that.
You're not
So
reading. You're not.
I
You're not picking up what's being put down right now.
yeah. So my father, Lou Carnesecca, who tells me, wherever you go, you dress appropriately. You don't show up in your underwear, as he would affectionately say. And
Mm-hmm.
so I put on a suit and tie, and I find a briefcase.
Mm.
Nothing's in it.
It's empty,
So
but I'm
yeah,
looking
it's empty.
hard.
So I'm carrying a briefcase, doing the subway, and going into the Hyatt, and I'm thinking it's a front office job, like
Mm-hmm.
a scout or something like that.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay. Okay.
so,
Okay.
so
I
I
see.
walk in, and there's Jerry, and I'd never met, and of course Phil Jackson. Never had the privilege of meeting him. There was Tex Winter and Johnny Bach
Okay.
in a hotel room.
All
So
of
I
them.
don't know who any of these people are, and so I sit down, and they're looking at me. They're like, and Jerry goes, I think this kid is a few cents short of a dollar. I think what they
You
say
got the
about him is
whole.
true.
Got the.
So I'm like, okay, and I'm like, pardon me. And they said, what's with the briefcase? And I'm like, I'm caught.
There's nothing in it. There's nothing.
And I go, well, and he goes, do you know why you're here? And I said, well, respectfully, it's for a job, hopefully in the front office. And they just all burst out laughing. They go, you got the total wrong idea. And they go, first of all, open up the briefcase, and like a beer can falls out of it. Then they just, that
With the
story's
candy
like
wrapped,
legendary,
wrapped in the bag.
and so I'm mortified. And so they sit down and they said, listen, we know you have history, uh,
Oh,
Carolina and Michael and all this sort of business. We're having a tough time getting over the hump, uh, beating the Pistons. They had the Chuck Daly rules where they used all their fouls, which was smart.
oh.
But Michael couldn't physically stand the pounding.
Too
80
much.
games is different. So we need someone to come and basically beat him up, make him stronger, tougher. And now knowing Mike, that guy is, and there's no question in my mind, and it's not an error related thing. And he's extremely humble about this. That guy had more killer instinct and guts and desire as anybody could have. And he had all the God given talent combined in one person, which
Wow.
is ultimately why he is who he is. And you'll never see anyone like him.
Nah.
So anyway, they said, like, anyone we throw in front of him, you know, they're intimidated. He barks back. He's competitive. Do you think you could handle that? So I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I know him. I don't give a shit who he is. I knew he was 18 years old. I was 18 years
I
old.
remember him when, yeah, absolutely. My brother was
Yeah,
there. Yeah, I got
I don't
history with him
get.
already.
And I said, I don't give a shit. What do I care? I said, sure. So I get out there, and it's like this rookie invitee thing where they basically want to get a summer league team or the team down to, like, they want to add three guys ultimately.
Okay.
So the first day I get there, and there's literally 200 guys
Okay.
going for this position.
A lot of people.
So I literally get off the plane. I'm like, what the hell is it? What am I doing here?
200
And
people.
I call him Coach for a second. I go, this is bullshit. I said, I don't know what they're doing. There's 300 guys or 200 guys here, and it's a 3-day workout. He goes, just stay. He said, don't be a jerk. He would say, don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Be respectful. They invited you. Just, you never know what. First day, we go through workouts. 100 guys gone
Gone.
that night. We were staying at the hotel, and you just see guys filing out. Phone didn't ring. Second day, we're sitting by, well, everyone's sitting by the phone after the workouts in the hotel, and everyone's in their own room. Phone doesn't ring. Next day, 60 guys are gone. Now there's 40 of us left.
Okay.
So the third night ends, and I'm like, well, I'm packing my bag. I mean, the odds and everything. Phone doesn't ring. So I leave to go to the. This is how smart I am. I leave to go to the front desk, and I'm like, my phone's not working. I, I
Can
I'm
you
expecting a call.
can you check my phone? I think I missed like 3 calls.
Yeah. It's they're like you. The phone hasn't rang and it's working. So I'm like, this. You guys are, this is a gag. One of the guys on the team.
Yeah.
They call up and they say, we need to see you tomorrow. And okay. And there were three guys. I was one of them.
Okay.
So they said, okay, this is what we want to do. I'm going to send you home, and the preseason workouts, and then into the preseason. We're going to go through another round of some of this. But so I'm like, wow, okay, this is something.
This is
Go
legit.
home, come back. Now there's 300 guys competing for preseason just workout sessions.
Okay.
Same bullshit.
Three.
And I'm like, oh, because now what they do is they take all the guys that were on the scrap heap who, and my year was the first year they went to 2 rounds
Yeah.
versus 15. So there was a lot of free agency
A
out
lot of
there.
free agents.
Yeah, so a lot of, pros and guys in the CBA trying to, so they bring all these guys in. Same thing, 3 days, and I'll save the drama. There's three guys left. I'm one of them.
Oh wow.
So we
Wow.
get so then it turns into camp. We go out to Will Purdue was on the team. B.J. Armstrong was drafted that year. Stacey King was drafted that year. Nice guys. And Jeff Sanders, who was kind of a project guy. They had three draftees,
Wow.
and so we put all the rookies together and a couple of the vets. And Will Purdue was on the club, and we go out and play in LA Summer League. And obviously, they're keeping the veterans and the guys they drafted.
Wow.
And and they're looking at other people, and we go through the whole LA summer thing. And uh, I remember getting into almost a fist fight with John Starks, but that's something else. But
That
it
seems
went
pretty
my way.
fitting. That seems very fitting.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that these things it went my way, so I was pleased with it. But we come back and uh, okay, we're going to have more tryouts for veteran. Now this is going on over like 4 months.
4 months.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so then we get into okay, we're going to go into veteran camp, which is a full solid month.
Hmm.
Well, we're going to keep three guys again. Huh? They invited me to veteran camp.
Oh wow. You cut.
So
Okay.
so yeah, so I'm calling up Connor second. I'm going. He goes, you keep calling up and saying you're coming home. He goes, yeah, I'm coming home yet. So just you know,
Stop calling me.
relax. So I remember when all the vets came in and we were doing, it was like a week before, and we're doing, just pick up basketball, and Miss Scotty was there, and I'd come in and met him, and Horace Grant, what a nice guy. Horace was a really good guy.
Yeah.
And then Michael rolls in,
Michael Rose.
and and everyone like sees him, this.
Yeah. Everybody
So
started.
so so he looks at me, and he goes, "Hey, Brusty." He goes, "So I hear that they brought you in to teach me a lesson."
Okay. So
So
this is
I just
business.
I'm like I said, yeah, something like this, something like that. He goes, "Yeah, you think you're up for it?"
Oh
And
my
he goes,
goodness. He
because
already
you're
knows.
not. He goes, because you're not. So of course my sick mind just goes, "Whoop." And I said, really? I said, well, now that you put it that way, good to see you. I'll see you out there. So,
Rocky Balboa.
oh, it was, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's Apollo Creed and could kill me.
And
And
he
well, there's no Rocky there, but yeah, it's hysterical. So we get out there, and the first 3 days they bring in a bunch of guards, just like me. I go, of course. And we literally had one drill,
wonder.
and there was 15 guys, and I'm in a line of 15 guys. Michael is at the top of the key. They handed him the ball and send a guy, okay, guard him. What can you do? So these guys are out there, and you can literally see them like every step they take towards him, their courage is just whittling, their body just wilts, and he just like steps on them and dunk, 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 dunk. So, I get out there, and he goes, "Oh, not you." I said, "Oh yeah, it's me."
It's me.
So he doesn't dunk. He doesn't really get by me, and they're shoving back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and so, and he's like, "All right," and he
Okay.
goes, "All right, all right." And so anyway, they asked me to stay. So we end up having this whirlwind preseason, and my moment there was, I guess, we're playing in a scrimmage, and at this point we're going 3 a days, and in the evenings we did a full court scrimmage. Tex wanted to take one team, Johnny Bach picked the other, and Phil standing in the middle scratching his head. So okay, this is what you're here for. You've got Michael, and
You guard Michael Jordan.
yeah, yeah, so that's what we
That's what
got.
we brought you. We whittled you down from like 700 players.
Yeah,
You
it
go
was,
guard
it
Michael
was,
Jordan
it was
right
I,
now.
I can't even, the odds are just, I can't even,
This is mind-boggling.
Tristan, it
Continue,
was,
continue, because I'm leaning in.
uh,
You
so,
guarded
so,
Michael Jordan.
so we get out, and, we go up and down once or twice, and Johnny Paxson, really good guy, was on. They basically had, it was him, John Paxson, I'm sorry, Michael, John Paxson, Bill Cartwright, Scotty, and Horace, against the rest of the guys, and the team. And there was just a couple of rookies. Two of the other, and the two walk on, the guys that had been brought in, were on the bench, and I started. So we go up and down a couple times, get a little physical. So I see, Paxson give a signal, and I didn't know what was coming. Bill Cartwright, whose elbows stretch from the east side of New York to the west side of Manhattan,
Oh my goodness.
catches me with a back pick, and they throw a lob to Michael, and of course he, dunks the ball,
Yeah.
rips, the basket down, and there's been a story that's about this incident that's got a number of Pinocchios to it, but I'll give you the real
Give me
story.
the real. Give me the real.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
so
Long Island,
so
Long
he
Island.
dunks the ball, and I'm just like, I'm so mad at myself.
You're
I
so
should have
mad.
seen it. I,
Why
I
did I
should
let
have
that happen?
I should have slipped the screen,
Yeah, run defense.
and
I should have did something.
yeah. So I just didn't see it. So we're running down the other end of the court, and Michael comes up beside me and is laughing,
Of course.
and he taps you on the shoulder. He goes, "Don't worry about it, Brusty. You're just one of the many I've done that to."
Mm.
So there goes
Mm.
my brain twists
Oh yeah.
again. So I
Oh,
looked at him. I said, why don't you go F yourself? I said, why don't you try it again?
watch
Let's
that.
see how it works up. I'm just this idiot, brain
I got to
damaged
do
person.
something. I got to do
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So,
That's what came
so they
out.
go up, down once, twice, and I pretend I don't see anything. I see the signal coming, and Bill comes out. Duck under his elbow. Michael goes to jump. My forearm goes right in his Adam's apple, and he goes
Oh.
boom, flat in his back, like one of
Oh.
those falls, like you can't breathe, like that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Straight down.
So the the gym,
Yeah.
all I hear is a whisper from like Tex Winter over on the other side of the gym goes, "Holy shit, he killed the franchise."
Yeah. He just, he just
so,
killed the NBA in one
so
elbow.
it was hysterical, and he's laying there, and so I leaned over to him, and
Like,
I
yo,
said,
please get up.
I said, "You're just one of the guys, many guys I've done that to."
Ah.
so,
Okay.
so yeah,
Okay.
and to his credit, he gets up and he's ready to, fist fight. This one fight, da. So uh, I said, I'm standing here.
I got
I said,
nothing to lose.
I
Zero to
said,
lose,
I
man,
said,
tonight.
and again, one of my terms is, you don't see anybody backing up, do you? As I'm standing
Listen,
here,
you're about
I
to
said, let's
fight Michael
go.
Jordan.
So, we're going at this. We're going through 4 quarters, and I'm like playing the game of my life. I actually decided I could jump. Well, I could jump, but I'm playing defense on him, and the whole scrimmage he scores 6 points.
Oh,
I blocked his shot twice,
What?
and he was livid, livid. And Horace Grant and Scotty, if you talk to Scotty, it's like talking to Mike Tyson in private.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
Mike Tyson's got that voice, it sounds like your
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
That's Scotty. He was just so quiet. He's like, he goes, hey man. He goes, I don't know what you're on or what you're doing. He goes, just keep doing it. This is great. And
Oh,
Horace is a Clemson guy.
yes, he is.
He's like, you you keep kicking it at you. This is going to be a great year. Blah blah. so so he come out. It's like near the end of the scrimmage, and he's just lost it.
Oh my goodness.
And so we're in. My
Mike,
team is the white team. There was the white and the red,
right in the
and
red.
I was on the white team, and we're inbounding the ball. And before the ball gets inbounded, I'm standing there, kind of with my hands on my knees, and Michael turns around with an elbow and nails me hard. It's like just a straight elbow to my forehead. So there's this stars where I went down on my knee, and everyone was like, and he just stood there and looked at me, and like, in my New York, which I'd worked on, my New York accent, I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yo, what was
What's the
that?
matter? You can't take competition. I said, what are you, a child? And so I looked at Phil, and I'm like, Phil, what the F? And he goes, that's the end. Practice is done.
This is definitely this is getting this is oh yo, so he just cheap shot at you like wow.
Yeah, yeah. But listen, let
Oh,
me tell you something. To play against him, and it was like that a lot of the camp. I mean, and it got to the point where we went through the whole preseason,
oh my
got
goodness.
got into very, very early, and he just. I remember that John Paxson and Will came into the locker room, and they were like all upset. To like, they want to see you, and I'm like, okay. I mean, did I fuck up there? I don't know. So I remember going in, and it was so kind of them. And I get greeted by the coaching staff, and Phil's there with Jerry and um, Tex Winter and Johnny Bach. And Tex just stands up immediately, comes over and hugs me. And he said, this is so wrong. He said, oh, what's going on with this kid is just wrong. And he walks out. And here I have no idea. So anyway, I sit down, and Jerry says, look, we're carrying three rookies. We can't keep you.
Mm,
And we want you to play for our CBA affiliate, and we're going to call you up.
yeah,
First injury, we've got Craig Hodges. He's injured. He gets injured a lot. This one, we don't know how Sanders is going to work out.
right.
Um, and Phil's like, listen, he goes, we just have to. We can't have four rookies on the bench. And I said, so it's basically a numbers game. And he goes, listen, for all intents and purposes, you did your job. And it's what we want you to stay in the organization. And at that point, I thought to myself, it's like the Miracle on Ice story with Mike Eruzione, the ice hockey, that
The ice hockey
1980. Yeah,
professional.
like when Mike played that last game and won the gold medal after they beat the Russians, and well,
Yeah,
he quit. He quit at the top. He just was like, I'm done. It doesn't get any better than this. And in my
yeah.
mind, that singular experience with Mike and
The Bulls.
probably the best team ever assembled, and I held my own and I excelled. I mean, does it get any better than this? I'm not going to go play for the Rockford Lightning of the
No.
old CBA, and for $50 a night to tear somebody's throat out. I said it's just a letdown, and
Yeah.
so I just said thank you very much, but no.
Oh wow.
And look, and the story comes out. There was a number of stories written about. There was probably five or six stories when I was out there written about me in the Chicago Tribune, and you can find them. But there was the story is told every year. There's a website called Tales from the Campsite, or Fireside Chats from preseason basketball, and this story always pops up. Help me business wise, because people are like, "What's the story?"
Yeah,
but
you're tied to Mike Jordan forever.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so
So
yeah, like
So there's a
you're
few Pinocchios. I mean, Mike Jordan dunked on this tough guy from New York and ended his career, and that shows how strong you. It didn't quite go that way,
Nah, it ain't
but
quite go that way. Man, I appreciate the real story, man. But salute to
so
you for salute to you for I mean, That's the best. And you're like, nah, I'm not backing down. And you now you did more than the job. He had to cheap shot you because you was getting under his skin.
Well, I'll tell you, it was. If anyone's going to cheap shot you, you want it to be him. And like,
Yeah,
look, he,
that I
he's
mean,
the
if you
he,
did your job, they said we got to find a sparring partner for this guy, somebody that's special, and they found him. And now
and
they're
he
like,
just.
man, I didn't know that this was gonna go this well or even go this far left to where he's really that. But we really didn't look at keeping this guy.
Well,
So
Michael went in and said, "I'm not dealing with Matt Brust all year." That was
that's
the. I mean,
that's what I'm
Paxton
saying.
came up to me.
This is a little
Those
bit
guys came
too
in.
much.
They took me to the airport the next day. Paxton and Will, and well, they came to the hotel rather. And I'm like, "What happened? Like, did
Nah,
I screw up?" They goes, "No, no."
you
Michael
was too
came in
raw.
and said, "He
You
goes,
was too
he
raw,
goes, I'm
man.
not dealing with this guy all season." I
Nah,
mean,
you
I
was
went
too
through
raw.
preseason. We played this, our full preseason schedule, and
Nah, you
I
was
had
too
great
raw.
games, and that was fun.
You was too raw. You was too. They're like you're not going to bring the Detroit
Yeah,
Pistons
I kind of did
just
it too
back to
well, I guess. I don't know, but look at Mike Jordan is. I love the competition.
awesome, awesome.
He's the most incredible professional. And look, I watch guys today, and maybe I'm biased towards the time I played, but I look at James, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's magnificent." I said, I'd love to get a crack at him playing like we're supposed to play, and moreover, I'd love to see Dennis, Rodman,
Yeah.
doesn't stick Dennis on him and let him just play. We'll
Yeah,
see how many points he scores.
there's a few elements to it that you guys reveled in the psychological warfare that went on with the little extra layer of physicality, the hand checking and the cat and mouse game. That's not really a part of today's game, right? It's more of a hands off, free flowing. You can't really put guy on put a guy down or you get kicked out or suspended. So those
Yeah.
top guys have free.
Yeah.
So it's
I
different.
mean, there
Definitely
were
different.
real fights out there. I mean,
It was
and
real fight.
there was real battles. I mean,
Yeah, man.
you just see, and unfortunately, like the league, you see how it is today, and the viewership has dropped so much because, I mean, again, I don't want to harp on James and all that sort of stuff, but when to see the Los Angeles Lakers, a storied institution of basketball,
Yeah,
the guy goes to them and says, "I want my son to be on the team," who couldn't even he scored 2 points a game, and
yeah.
he shouldn't even have been at a Division I school. I'm like, it's over. I'm like, this, I have no idea what this is.
We got a whole different thing going on, and that's a heavy topic for another thing. So let's bring it up to speed, man. Let's bring it up to speed. What are we doing now? Did we are we still in touch with the game, man? Do we have any children? Are we parents? What we got going on now, man? That was an amazing story. I'm gonna be
Oh.
processing that story for a while, man. Thank you. That was amazing.
Well, it's very generous of you to have me on the
That
show,
was
and it's I'm so grateful to put up with my silly stories is
Nah, they're not
good
silly.
for you.
These are amazing. I think everybody finds beauty in these gems, man, and this is what this platform is for. So, bring us up to speed, man. What we've been doing.
Well, I finished up, did the Wall Street thing, and my skill set dovetailed nicely into trading and brokerage and being somewhat having the notoriety I had in New York. I kind of used that. People knew me, but then I learned how to be a business person and how to create deals, make investment decisions, all kinds of things. And I just kept continuing to evolve. And my background helped me a lot.
Yep.
My background, I learned how to win, how to lose, how to come back,
Yep.
how to win gracefully,
Hmm.
you all these intangible lessons that are priceless. And I went to work, and in my career, thank God, I've done very well. I have two beautiful daughters, and
Awesome.
they're out there doing their own thing right now, and
Awesome.
and it's pretty cool, and yeah. So I'm just kind of moving along, and right now I'm kind of changing sort of things professionally, and
Okay.
I'm doing more of this basketball. I'm connected with St. John's and trying to help the new athletic director Eddie Cole there is doing a magnificent job, and
Absolutely.
of course, Ricky Pitino is doing a fabulous job there, and
Yes.
but Eddie Cole is a terrific guy. Knows what he's doing. He's been gracious enough to sit with me a number of times, and uh, actually coached his son. I do some coaching and
Okay.
getting more into that, but looking at other things in the business horizon, still in the competitive field, and
Awesome.
again looking for kind of a transition. But it's thank God it was all because of Luke Hornacek. I mean, I and my family, of course, meant everything to me. My mother, of course, uh, and my sister, who was tougher than all of us, pushing me to do things that I just would never do. Um, and the competition that I had, the friend like Derek's, I think on the other side of the world now, living and doing great. And Shelton's out there in Amityville. I gotta go out there and get him out from hiding. We're gonna go to a Babylon Amityville game.
Let's bring the who's out to
Yeah.
Long Island
We've been
basketball.
talking about that for years, and you know,
That's
and
gonna be our next project. We gotta get the who's
yeah,
out so we can talk our trash in real time. That would
yeah,
be
of
amazing.
course, and yeah, we can, I can wear a Babylon jersey to Amityville safely, and
Absolutely.
he's my brother. He'll defend me,
Nah,
so
you'll
it'll be
be
fun.
good. You'll be good. You'll definitely be good. I got a question for you, and this ties back into your alma mater. I need your all-time Babylon starting five.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there were a lot of great players
Absolutely.
before the 75, 76 team.
Absolutely.
Um,
Not an easy task. I need
yeah,
five.
and again, everyone's related some way, but to go beyond the starting five that won those championships is really tough. I'd like to think that I would be on that starting five,
It's your starting
but
five. You put it together.
well,
If we was
if it's
competing
mine,
against the
then
other starting five
yeah,
across Long
well,
Island, who are
all
you
right.
putting out from
I'll
Babylon
I'll I'll
Benfield?
be selfish. I'll be selfish. I would throw my brother out there, run him
Yep.
out there at center, and
Yep.
Glenn would run the show.
Glenn Vickers.
Uh, yeah, I would. And Brian would be another backcourt guy.
Nice.
I'd probably be a good three man.
Yep.
And
One more spot.
gosh, yeah, and probably there was a guy who played in '71. His name was Bob Mayo. Now he's done a lot.
I know
Yeah,
Bob.
so he's done a lot of good stuff with Babylon, but he's also does a lot for high school. He's with the high school championships. But I'd have Bob Mayo out there.
That's a nice
As
five.
gotta look him up. I mean,
That's a
that
nice
guy
five.
could
I know
play.
Bob. I know the name. I know the name. And salute,
Yeah.
salute to
So,
him.
and a terrific guy, and I've seen him. I saw him a couple of years ago, and fantastic. But it would be. I've played with. I've been fortunate enough to play with a lot of wonderful people, and it's exciting. And but those guys, it would be a privilege if you could wind the clock back, and
Absolutely.
I would just love to compete. There was one that I'll leave you with this is the summer I was in high school and I was doing pretty well, and it was my junior year, and we're doing the summer playing summer pickup in the gym in high school, and Glenn Vickers shows up,
Oh man.
and and so and Brian was always down there, and Brian just what a super guy, and Glenn terrific. So Glenn comes out, and so it's Glenn Vickers, and so he's like, I mean, you talk about a guy with such grace and dignity, and just him wanting to pass on what he was so graciously given. And boy, he sold that to me. And he said, come on. So I remember guarding him, and I had him locked up a bit, and I stepped back. I was like, this is somehow wrong
Yeah. What am I doing? What
that
am I
I'm
doing?
doing this. So he looked at me, stopped, and of course, it's as if God, turned the lights on or something in the gym, and he said, "Come here." He
Come here.
said, "He said, thank you for the respect." He said, "But I want you to to play,
Let's
and
play.
I want, yeah, let us play basketball."
Let's play
And
basketball.
it's just, it was
That's the moment, man.
competitive. It was fun,
That's a
but
moment between two Babylon greats. You up and coming, and him. You know what I mean? Kind of passing that torch to you. But like you said, just in that moment, he recognized the respect, and you
oh,
recognized that. So that's amazing to be able to do that. And that's what these things are about, man. You start to forge these relationships through the game of basketball,
mhm.
and then you also forge the character. You forge the character, and I'm hearing a lot of perseverance and resiliency from yours, and also the determination, and that's really how you play, man. You play leaving everything on the court.
Well,
You
I'd love to take credit for that, but there were giants that played before me,
absolutely,
and
absolutely,
for me to say, and I see this a lot, unfortunately, is I see these players stand on the shoulders of brilliance and take it the next logical step, and that's great. But I think if you to be truly great and to be a person of dignity and honor and someone to be emulated, you need to understand the history of what it took those players to get where they got
yep,
and consider it a huge privilege that they even look your way and allow you
yep,
to stand on their shoulders and take it the next step. So I found it was incredible privilege
yep,
and an honor to be
yep,
considered by the likes of Glenn Vickers. And there was a guy there, uh, Gervis Barger, who was a point guard, and
okay,
he was a point guard, but boy, I never saw a guy play harder.
yep,
And that was the first championship. So each one of these guys, every single one of them, there wasn't a guy who was a jerk. There wasn't one guy who was just like, get this kid out of here.
yep,
Every single one of them took the time and showed me kindness where it changed my life. I mean,
yep.
I saw greatness. I knew what it was, but more importantly, I knew what it took.
That's amazing.
And the again the incredible generosity of them to share their experience with me, to take me in, to say that I'm anything special. I know I did the Mike Jordan story and all that stuff, but it was from those beginnings. Those I was just a lump of clay, and they forged the
That's,
beginning of a sculpture. So,
that's
you
amazing.
know,
That's amazing.
great,
I,
great stuff.
I
And
appreciate.
Stan Wilcox and
Yep.
and those guys and the North Balin guys, the Amityville guys, and and of course the guys I played with, Shelton, Derek. There were giants
So
around me.
long.
I was just along for the ride, and they were kind enough to take me with them.
I appreciate the humility, man. But you played a part. You played a big part in Long Island basketball history. Speaking of that, what do you think about this page that's been created?
Oh, I love it. It's really gotten a lot of traction, and it's every once in a while, everyone gets an ego rush, and you want to see what's on the internet or these old stories. But you guys are digging up stuff that, holy cow! I have a whole section of pictures, just of these articles. I can't find them, and you know, I got the reading glasses on now, which is a little bit that's humbling within itself. But
Humbling.
just reading these things, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you guys are doing is exceptional. And to your credit, I think you found something here, and it goes to the state of affairs today in the game of basketball. The lack of loyalty,
Mhm.
dignity, the less of hard work. I mean, look, these guys work hard, but I think you've touched on a nerve where people are hearkening back. I mean, it's not like, you get some politician in the room and they get a bunch of old people together and they tell a story of what it was like yesteryear, and they create
Yes.
some sort of nostalgia that they hearken back to, and it makes us feel good for the moment. But people really want to hear about these things and see these things. Look, you were part of it. I mean,
Absolutely.
you lived it. You played.
Yes.
You know what it was like, the competition,
I do.
uh,
I do.
and people ultimately want to see struggle and feel good about you know these stories where people come from out of nowhere, and what sparks what sparks that fire, what sparks that the passion, and why would you go through.
Yep.
So the platform is fantastic, and I'm enjoying reading it.
Thank you.
And I've thrown a few comments out there once or twice
Absolutely. We want
to
you to get
defend
active. Yeah, I mean,
to
this is
defend my family members, and
absolutely.
every once in a while you get a few people on and this is in general. They try to, oh well, this was fair, that wasn't fair, and this was not cool, and this guy had an advantage for one reason or another. And you know what? We never thought of any of that.
Nope.
None of that nonsense, which is why we were so good. I
Yeah.
mean, I take Derek and Shelton today,
Oh, for sure.
assuming we could run,
There's certain components of yesteryear that's definitely lacking, and I think that's one of the best parts of this platform for me is kind of being in kind of that sweet spot age in between all of this history, is seeing the pros of each age, but also being able to celebrate and learn from each age.
Tristan,
Right, and learn from each age.
to, to your credit, I got to be honest. I mean, you're through this page and what you're doing, you're reaching out to a lot of people that don't necessarily respond. You'll never understand, and I didn't.
Mhm.
And there are a number of experiences that exposed this to me, but you're reaching young minds that will never have the opportunity to respond, but you're shaping
Yeah,
sort of these young psyches on what it really takes. I
absolutely.
mean, it's not you pick up a YouTube of Steph Curry throwing in bombs from half court. It didn't just fall out of the sky.
It's an
It didn't just
infrastructure there.
happen.
There's an
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
infrastructure
and
there. You
so
got to
you're
see what the
teaching
system is.
by bringing up all these
Absolutely.
guys,
Yeah,
the work that they did, and so you're reteaching something that's so sadly lacking. I think across all athletics is
I think so.
what it really takes. It's not that difficult. You know, I heard this phrase once, and it's so true. You're either trained or untrained.
Yep,
Now, of course, we're compromised by physical attributes, but you're either trained or untrained, and it's who will persevere the longest.
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, who's in shape the most. This stuff we see. It's wonderful. They can hurdle the rim and they can shoot bombs from half court. But look at Indiana this past year.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some great names on that team, but no, there was no one superstar. And I
Nah,
did watch because they played defense,
they
and
did.
there wasn't
It
there.
was a very unique style, man. You had about 10 guys that could score 20, and they all were
Right,
playing from up.
right,
Yeah.
and everyone
I
was
think
going
I
blown.
think you're gonna see rosters start to be shaped like that, and even OKC to an extent. Like you had about 20 guys
Yeah,
on both teams that can give you 20, and everybody was playing defense, and it
yeah.
was cross matches. So it was a chess game. So it was pretty cool to see. But
Yeah.
but back to you, man. Let's put a bow on this. I just want to salute you. I want to salute you and just know that not just Babylon, Panther Country, but Long Island basketball, and even sliding out to NYC. You're a big deal. You're a big deal because you show perseverance, and then you brought the grit to the game of basketball and really played every play like it was your last. And you understood how valuable that was. And then you went on to the prominent UNC, and it wasn't your fit. And you worked through all of the things, the physical, the emotional, right, the spiritual, all of those things,
Mhm.
and you had a beautiful opportunity handed to you, right? Or your mom kind of segued there and brokered that deal.
My mom, the sports agent,
She was a
she's
sports
been
agent, man. You gotta give her her cut, man.
she's been called a lot of things, but I
Yes.
think this is the first time she's been called that.
I mean, we got to call it what it is. I need to make a call. That's a sports agent. So she brokered the deal, got Lewis, said
Yeah.
he's perfect. And you were perfect for Big East basketball. And I'm
Yeah.
sure once you got there, and you was really, you embodied what New York was. You know what I mean? This blue collar and right here on the stage to where they called you to say, hey, man, we need you to be Michael Jordan's sparring partner. And you did it so well that they was like, he said, man, this is going to be too much for me all year.
Yeah, he just said he had enough. He couldn't do
he
it. He
said,
said,
he said, man,
I
I
don't
can't
want this.
go
I don't
82
want this
games with this
jackass
guy.
around. This guy's a lunatic. He
Nah,
doesn't know where he is or something.
well,
But yeah.
listen, man, you stayed in that mode, man. That's really hard to do. Like you stayed in the mode to where the greatest player was like, man, he's just a lot. He's a lot. all the time. We got to get another sponsor. Salute to you for that. Salute to you for that and being able to put your stamp on the game of basketball and really the game of life, man. So we appreciate you sharing your story, Long Island legend.
Well, it's very, very kind of you to have me, and I'm always there for my extended basketball family, and you can call me anytime.
Salute
But
to you.
it's been a privilege to be here.
I appreciate it, man. We'll be tapping in offline, man. We'll be building. But yeah, anything that you can share, any gems that you can share, whether it be pictures, articles,
Sure.
videos, or comments, please share, man, because we definitely appreciate you tapping in with us every time.
Well, again, Tristan, thank you so much, and yeah, congratulations to you and your career. And you played for a real powerful program in high school, and
Thank you.
so you're a huge part of it. And what you're doing now is incredible. So
Thank you
keep
so much.
keep keep going on, man.
Thank you so much. We'll be in contact off time. So after 30 days, this live right here will be deleted. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna download this, upload it to my YouTube channel so we can have this thing locked in. I'll send you the link and everybody be able to tap in on my YouTube channel as well. So I appreciate it. Until
All
then,
right.
have a good one.
Thanks so much, Tristan. Talk to you again.
Talk to you again.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. That was amazing.